Why did she stay silent when they laughed at her? Why didn't she defend herself or even look up? She sat at the foot of that marble staircase like she had been carved from the stone itself. A lone woman in a plain uniform, a wheelchair beneath her. A crowd of cadets above, gleaming boots, loud confidence. And one voice, too proud, too sure, cutting through the rotunda like a knife. What's she gonna teach us? How to file disability paperwork? The laughter spread, eager, nervous, cruel. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Her hands rested quietly, scarred, knuckles knotted by life most here would never understand. She seemed still. Too still. And when one cadet tapped her wheel, then kicked hard, sending her crashing toward the marble floor. Even then she didn't scream. She fell like someone who had fallen before and learned to survive the landing. Her silence spoke louder than their noise ever could. Because silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's a warning. She pushed herself back up, alone on that cold, shining floor. No fury. No shame. Just a long gaze at the staircase they worshipped, and she had never needed. No one knew what came next. Not yet. Not until the next morning, when she requested something impossible. Permission to run the crucible, alone. The room laughed again. Nervous this time. Unsure. And then the clock began. How could someone move so slowly and still be faster than everyone? She didn't rush the first corner like they did. She listened. Mapped the space by breath, echo, vibration. Her heart steady, like a calm sea before a storm, 62 beats per minute. She didn't need to storm doors. She redirected air vents, manipulated sound. Shifted the battlefield without even rolling forward. Then precision. A mirror. A single impossible shot through a gap. A retreat before danger. A flashbang bouncing off walls like she'd memorized geometry instead of pain. 3 minutes. No civilians harmed. No mistakes. 2 hostages rescued. Time stopped. Breath held. And then, only then, did she roll into the center of the final room and finally breathe. Mission complete. Silence. Again. Only this time it wasn't doubt. It was awe. Colonel Thorne walked into the kill house and saluted her. Not as a superior, but like a man honoring a myth. Welcome back, Wraith. A name whispered in units no one admits exist. A name spoken only in low voices and dim rooms. And the cadets, once so loud, felt something new. Small. Unarmed. Unprepared. Because she had been teaching them something all along. Power never needs to shout. Only insecurity does. What do you say to someone you tried to break, when you learn they were unbreakable all along? Drake Miller stood in a doorway the next morning. No swagger, no shine, no noise. Just a young man stripped bare of illusion. I thought I knew strength, he whispered. But I only knew comfort. He didn't ask forgiveness. He asked direction. And she gave it not softly, not cruelly, but truthfully. Arrogance kills. Assumption blinds. A soldier sees beyond what's easy to see. He expected condemnation. He received a mission. Words didn't redeem him. Effort would. And for the first time in his life, he earned every breath. He trained until dawn. He listened more than he spoke. He led by lifting others, not standing over them. Falling doesn't shame you. Staying fallen does. Why did she stay? Why teach those who wounded her? Because this place, loud, bright, hungry, needed silence more than sound. She trained them where real lessons are learned, in mud, shadow, stillness. No slides. No speeches. Just problems that punished ego and rewarded patience. Don't breach because a manual tells you to, she said once, voice quiet over comms. Breaching is noise, thinking is survival. They studied her recordings like sacred text. The sound of a single brass casing ejecting became a symbol on their barracks board. The sound of competence. They learned to breathe before shooting, observe before moving, think before acting. They learned to whisper, to watch, to wait. And one day, a young officer stopped an entire platoon before a door, eyes sharp, breath slow, and found a hidden entry instead. No casualties, no heroics, just precision. His name was Drake Miller. He didn't become a legend. He became worthy. What is strength? Not muscle, not rank, not medals. Strength is showing up again when the world thinks you can't. She never spoke about the day her legs were taken. She didn't need to. Trauma isn't always a wound. Sometimes it's a doorway leading to a different battlefield. She didn't fight to prove them wrong. She fought to prove herself right. Pain had refined her. Silence had sharpened her. Loss had stripped away everything unnecessary, leaving only purpose. Her wheelchair wasn't shame. It was steel earned through fire. A throne, not a cage. Years passed. Stories faded, but hers grew. Not because she chased glory, but because she didn't. Cadets whispered her call sign with reverence. Officers visited just to salute quietly and leave. The staircase she fell from became a landmark, not for cruelty, but for awakening. They called it the Rostova Steps. The academy changed. Less noise, more stillness, less pride, more depth. And every new soldier learned the truth. Loudness is not leadership. Silence is not weakness. Dignity does not tremble. It simply stands or sits, unmovable. What is legacy? Not statues, not medals, not the stories shouted loudly in halls. Legacy is the quiet shift in hearts. The cadet who pauses before judging. The soldier who breathes before firing. The leader who listens before speaking. Her legacy lived in every calm trigger pull, every measured step, every quiet victory. Not heroic. Human. Earned. Not loud. Lasting. And in the still moments between drills, you could almost hear her lesson whisper through the halls. True strength rarely announces itself. It arrives, acts, and leaves the world changed. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts. Why do the ghosts follow some soldiers home and leave others behind? No one at the academy dared to ask her. Not the cadets she trained. Not the officers who saluted her. Not even Colonel Thorne, whose voice once commanded battlefields but turned gentle in her presence. Yet every morning before dawn, she rolled into the quiet courtyard alone. She sat under the shadow of the memorial wall, the one carved with names, dates, and units. And she stared at one particular panel. Always the same one. She would place her hand on a blank strip of polished granite. Blank except for a faint scratch across the surface, like someone once tried to carve a name and stopped halfway through. No one knew why that space mattered. No one asked. Some wounds don't live on skin. Some live on stone. And silence. Her breath rose in the cold morning air. A still figure. A soldier without movement, yet somehow the most unshakable presence on campus. A cadet once said she looked like a statue. But statues don't hold heartbreak behind steady eyes. When the sun finally broke over the horizon, she wheeled away without a sound. Back to the task of shaping warriors. But the wall, and whatever name once nearly lived there, remained behind her. Waiting. A new class arrived that winter. Bright-eyed, ambitious, uniforms too crisp, voices too loud. The first day, they saw her only as a rumor in a chair. By the end of the week, they learned better. Move as one, an instructor shouted over a wind-cutting morning. The group stormed forward through the obstacle yard, eager, unfocused, stumbling over each other's boots. And then her voice, quiet as snowfall, but sharper than command steel, cut through the air. Stop. The world froze. Even instructors turned. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. You're dragging each other into the fight, she murmured. Not walking into it together. A cadet frowned. Ma'am, with respect, we were staying tight, that's teamwork. Her eyes studied him, not judging, not angry, just searching for the truth of him. Teamwork, she replied softly, is not proximity. It's purpose. If you move close but think alone, you move like children holding hands in a fire. The yard stayed silent. Cold bit through gloves. Breath fogged. Our greatest threats, she continued, do not shout when they come, they wait, they watch, they learn. Her fingers tapped her wheel. Once, twice, like a heartbeat keeping count. Try again. No anger. No insult. Just expectation, the kind only a warrior who had lost too much could carry. They moved again, slower this time. Not together by force, but by choice. Even the wind seemed to quiet for her. Later in the armory, young Cadet Alvarez approached her hesitantly, rifle hanging awkwardly in his hands. Ma'am, he whispered, how did you get so good at this? She paused in the middle of reassembling her custom sidearm. Most expected her to ignore him. Others braced to hear a sermon about discipline. Instead, she gave him the most human answer she had spoken in weeks, 4 words, barely breathed. I had no choice. The room stilled. Even the hum of fluorescent lights felt like it dimmed out of respect. Alvarez swallowed. Was it after your injury? She didn't look at him. She didn't need to. There was a time, she said, when the enemy wasn't across a field or behind a wall. They were inside my own mind. Her hand drifted to the metal frame beneath her. In war, you lose things. People, places, pieces of who you were. She clicked her pistol slide into place, a sound crisp enough to puncture emotion. If you are lucky, she whispered, you rebuild. Alvarez looked down, his throat tight. And if you are, he asked quietly. She slid the weapon into its holster. Then you become a ghost that breathes. As she rolled away, Alvarez stood frozen, understanding that strength is not winning every battle. It is surviving the ones that tear you apart. Not every cadet learned quickly. Some stumbled. Some broke under the weight of humility. One cadet row snapped during a field drill, shouting, frustrated, throwing his rifle into the mud after failing a marksmanship course. This is impossible, he yelled. No one can hit a moving target at that angle. She appeared behind him quietly, as though she had risen from the earth itself. That's what they said the night my team fell. He froze. You think perfection is born? She asked, voice soft, almost kind. No, it bleeds its way into you, through failure, through repetition, through every night you want to quit but don't. Rowe lifted his head, shame, rage, confusion, all tangled. What if I'm not built like them? He whispered. What if I never get there? She wheeled closer, her gaze steady, not judging, not pitying, just seeing him. You don't measure yourself by the best day of someone else's life, she said. You measure by your worst and whether you kept moving. She leaned in slightly. If you break and rebuild, you become unbreakable. If you avoid the breaking, you stay fragile forever. Rowe didn't speak again. He didn't need to. Sometimes words don't heal, but they plant something, and planting is enough. Late one evening, she sat overlooking the Crucible training ground, alone, save for Colonel Thorne approaching with 2 mugs of steaming tea. He placed one beside her. She didn't look away from the simulation building, its steel walls glowing against dusk like a monument to violence and learning intertwined. "You watch every run," he said gently, "even one's not your class." She nodded once. "They carry lives they haven't lived yet," she murmured. "Better they make mistakes in hollow rooms than real ones." He studied her profile, the calm, the quiet, the unspoken ache that lived behind unmoving legs. "You're healing them," he said softly, "and yourself." She didn't answer. Healing was a word she didn't trust yet. Thorne sipped his tea. Then, with the weight of an old commander who had seen men die with eyes open, he spoke. "You know, there's talk, higher-ups. They think you should take a role beyond this place. Strategy division, command of unconventional doctrine." She remained still, so still the air seemed to freeze around her. "Command," she whispered, "with no battlefield." "Some battlefields," he answered, "aren't made of soil, they're made of decisions." Silence stretched, long, thoughtful, sharp. "There is still a war I haven't finished," she finally replied. His brow tightened. "Old ghosts." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. He nodded, accepting what he didn't fully understand, the mark of true respect. "When you go," he said, "they will follow you, the cadets, the staff, all of us." She turned her eyes toward the memorial wall in the distance, that blank scar of granite waiting like a wound. "No," she murmured, "some journeys you walk alone." He looked at her legs still, unmoving. She noticed. "Walking," she said, voice steady, "has nothing to do with legs." A week later, a classified envelope arrived. Black seal. Unmarked courier. She opened it alone, in a dim office smelling of gun oil and midnight coffee. Inside, coordinates. A photo of a man with cold eyes. A unit patch burned at the corner. And at the bottom, a single handwritten line. "Finish what you started, Wraith." Her fingers tightened around the paper. Old pain stirred, not in her body but far deeper. She stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, breath slow, steady. The world was offering her a battlefield again. Not for glory. Not for revenge. For closure. For purpose. She set the file down, looked at her chair, her hands, and whispered to the empty room. "It seems the ghosts finally want their answer." She didn't smile, didn't grimace. She simply breathed, like someone who has waited a long time for a door to open. Outside, cadets trained in cold wind. Inside, a legend prepared quietly. The war wasn't calling her back. No, something worse. And she was ready. Sometimes strength isn't about fighting. Sometimes it is about the moment you decide you can't walk away. Even if you cannot walk at all. What do you owe to the ghosts who never left you? The academy slept under a blanket of pre-dawn frost, lights dimmed, parade ground silent. But inside one solitary room, a lamp burned low, soft, steady, resolute. She sat at her desk, the classified file open, pages fanned like fragile feathers. Some wounds don't reopen. They never closed. Her fingers traced the face printed on the briefing photo, a man with a calm cruelty in his eyes. Not anger, not madness. Conviction. The kind of enemy who doesn't shoot out of hate. He shoots because he believes he must. Beside the photo lay a list of names, the kind that never make it into speeches or ribbons or folded flags handed to grieving families. Names the world was never meant to see. Her breath stilled on one name in particular. Her hand hovered over it, trembling not from weakness but memory. A fallen comrade. A friend. someone she had carried through fire once and failed to carry a second time. The file said what she already knew. No body was recovered. Presumed KIA. Presumed. Hope and regret are twins, identical until they kill you. She closed the file, pulled on her black jacket, no rank, no insignia. Not hiding, not pretending. Returning. A knock at her door. She didn't call out. Didn't move. The door opened anyway. Drake Miller stepped in, no swagger, no shine, just the restless discipline of a man still rebuilding himself. "I heard," he said quietly. She didn't turn. Didn't acknowledge hearing him. "Rumors," he clarified, "that you're leaving, that you're going back out there." Silence. Heavy. Unmoving. He swallowed. "I want to go." She finally turned, not with surprise but inevitability. "You're not ready." "I will be." "You're not now." His jaw tightened. "You taught us to face what we fear. You taught us purpose. Let me." "No." Firm. Final. Not punishment. Protection. He stood there frozen, shame and determination wrestling behind his eyes. "Is it revenge?" he asked quietly. She looked at him, really looked. The question was naive. "But brave." "No," she murmured. "Revenge is loud, this is quiet." He hesitated. "Then what is it?" "Unfinished duty." He nodded slowly, respectfully, as if afraid to breathe too loudly. "Then at least let me drive you to the airfield," he whispered. Her gaze softened barely. "No one sees me leave." A lesson he didn't yet understand. She rolled past him, hand stopping briefly on his shoulder, not affection, not farewell. Acknowledgement. "You will lead one day," she said, voice low. "Not by following me, by becoming yourself." The word struck deeper than praise ever could. And then she was gone, wheels silent on tile, leaving him standing in the doorframe. The boy he once was now fully gone, the man he hoped to be still in the making. She met the transport outside the perimeter fence, a black vehicle waiting like a shadow given form. The driver stepped out, crisp posture, expression blank behind tinted glasses. "Welcome back, Wraith." She nodded. No small talk. No ceremony. The doors closed, sealing out the world she had just shaped, and the one she was returning to. Inside the armored cabin, a familiar voice came through the small intercom speaker, low, gravel-edged, unmistakable. "Colonel Thorne." "You're sure?" he asked. "There was never a choice. You don't have to do it alone." She exhaled. "I already did." He paused, then answered with the quiet respect only soldiers who have seen hell can muster. "Good hunting." The line clicked dead. The wheels rolled. The academy disappeared. And she didn't look back. Hours later, she arrived at a nondescript hangar carved into a mountain face, not marked on maps, not registered on any airspace log. Cold wind scraped across concrete. Steel doors groaned open like the mouth of something ancient. Inside, 6 figures waiting. Their stance disciplined. Their eyes heavy with knowledge. Uniforms unmarked, stripped of nation, rank, creed, truth worn only in scars and stillness. One stepped forward, tall, quiet, eyes like winter rain. "Operator Slate," he said in low greeting. She nodded once. "Wraith." He exhaled in recognition, respect without awe. "We thought you retired." She met his stare. Some wars don't sign armistices. Another operator, smaller, wiry, face lined by years not numbers, spoke up. "We heard the call, but we weren't sure if you'd come after." The sentence didn't need finishing. Everyone here knew that silence sometimes replaced tombstones. She rolled past them, toward the mission crate already waiting. The lid lifted. Specialized sidearm, adaptive drone kit, folding long-range optic encrypted comms. Armored gloves. Light tactical harness designed for chair combat support. Tech born for someone who refuses to be limited by anything, including physics. Slate watched her gear up with a quiet reverence. "You saved entire units," he murmured, "and they still underestimated you. They saw what they wanted to see. That's why they lose." She clipped her weapon in place with calm finality. Loud arrogance dies in silence. Slate smirked, a ghost of humor in a place that rarely earned it. "You choose the team?" he asked. "I work alone." 6 sets of eyes exchanged glances, respect and concern entangled. "You don't have to," Slate said gently. She looked at him, not unkindly, just true. "There was a time when I fought beside people. They earned that place." A pause. "They are gone." A weight settled over the air like snow. Not pity. Not sadness. Memory. The kind that stays sharp long after bullets stop flying. Slate nodded once, a soldier accepting a decision not made lightly. "We'll run parallel support," he said. "Shadow if needed, no interference unless you call." She didn't respond, she didn't need to. Operators don't promise, they act. Flight briefing room. Dark, red safety lights washing across screens and maps. The target zone flickered into view, a remote compound, mountains like jagged teeth around it. Former safe house. Now a fortress. Leader codename Marl. Once allied. Now rogue. A man who built kingdoms from broken faith and dead loyalties. He was the one they blamed for her last mission. The collapse. The bodies. The legs she once had. But she did not come back for vengeance. She came to close a door that refused to close itself. A satellite image zoomed in. A face appeared beside Marl's profile, older than last time she saw him, beard streaked with gray, eyes colder. Her breath stalled. A familiar face. Not dead. Not gone. A ghost wearing flesh. No, not a ghost. A teammate. Left behind. Believed lost. Now alive, but standing beside the enemy. The room didn't breathe. Even walls felt tension. Slate spoke first, voice razor-thin. "Is that?" "Yes." 1,000 emotions lived in that word. Loyalty, betrayal, guilt, grief, hope. Hope is the most dangerous weapon in war. Slate's jaw clenched. Extraction priority. Not unless he chooses it. "You think he's compromised?" "I think he survived." Her voice didn't crack. It didn't shake. But inside her chest, something old and raw twisted, the memory of carrying him through gunfire, his blood on her hands, his last words in her radio. "Go, that's an order." She left him once. She wouldn't drag him a second time. Even loyalty can become a chain. Night fell hard over mountains. Stars sharp like shrapnel. The aircraft engines hummed, low, hungry. She sat at insertion hatch, harness clipped, weapon ready. No fear. Just readiness. Purpose sharpened to a blade edge. Slate knelt beside her, voice quiet. "If he's alive, you think he blames you." "Blame is easy," she said. "Living with it is war." He studied her profile, calm even in the face of hell. "If he shoots at you." She didn't blink. "He chooses his war, I choose mine." Silence hung like breath before a trigger pull. Slate offered his hand not for shaking, for connection, recognition. Not soldier to soldier. Warrior to warrior. "Come back," he murmured. She placed her gloved hand against his, brief, firm. "I always do." Then she rolled forward as the hatch opened, wind screaming, mountains yawning below. She disappeared into darkness without a sound. Some warriors march into battle. Some charge. Some roar. She fell silently, a shadow reclaiming the battlefield that once tried to keep her. She didn't go to kill a man. She wanted to face the truth the world refused to speak. Not all soldiers die in battle. Some live there forever, and some return not for vengeance, but to find the pieces they left behind. How do you move through darkness when the darkness remembers you? The wind bit like broken glass as she descended, silent as snowfall, her harness guiding her path. Below, the mountains stretched like the ribs of a sleeping god, jagged, ancient, unforgiving. Her wheels hit gravel without a sound. No stumble, no hesitation. Just the controlled stillness of someone who had learned long ago that impact is not failure, how you rise is. The cold wrapped around her metal frame, but she embraced it. Cold never scared her. Comfort did. Comfort weakens the senses. Cold sharpens them. She tapped her earpiece once. No reply. Good. This wasn't a mission for chatter. Silence was her battlefield. She removed the harness, secured it under rock, and pushed forward through the uneven terrain. Her chair wasn't designed for mercy. It was built for war, reinforced frame, adaptive suspension, motor assist silent as a ghost's breath. Her gloves gripped the wheels as she navigated stone and frost. Not fast. Precise. People think speed wins gunfights. Speed only matters if you can still think faster. She reached a rise overlooking the valley, and there it was, the compound. Low-lit. Cold concrete. Metal towers like skeletal sentinels. No flags. No emblems. Nothing to swear loyalty to. Nothing to fear but purpose. She switched to thermal view. 2 perimeter guards. Silent rotation. Professional. Not militia. Not amateurs. This wasn't a den of criminals. It was a place built by men who once believed in something, then learned to live without believing in anyone. A faint ache clawed its way up her chest. She knew this type of silence too well. A rustle in the snow behind her. She froze. Breath slowed. Finger eased to trigger position. Not fear. Calculation. Then a whisper in her calm, barely audible, scrambled, shaped like wind more than voice. We see movement above West Rock Line. Visual confirm. She didn't react. Not outwardly. Her eyes tracked the snow's edge. Someone else was here. Someone watching. Someone trained. Her own whisper slid out, so soft the mountain could barely hear it. Shadow element, fall back, I'm not compromised. But she didn't know who had whispered. Slate's voice. Another operator. Or someone else using old frequencies. Her mind didn't race. Racing wastes oxygen. Instead, she asked herself the only question that mattered. Did I bring ghosts with me, or did they come on their own? She pushed lower into the ridge, wheels muffled by powder and stone. Her breath fogged, a quiet ghost in the air. She could see them now, 3 figures outside the compound gates, moving with practiced discipline. One tall, one broad, one limping slightly. Her pulse shifted. Not raced. Shifted. Like old scars remembering the knife. The limping man turned slightly, cold breath drifting from his mask. His stance familiar. The way he rested weight. The way his hand hovered near his weapon grip, not touching it but ready, always ready. Her throat tightened around truth she didn't want to believe. Survival changes people. But memory remembers shape. That was him. Her teammate. Her brother in blood and fire. Left behind. Buried in noise and smoke. Dead in official record. Alive in shadow. He was here. He had chosen to stand beside the man they'd been sent to kill years ago. Not hostage. Not victim. Ally. But why? Her hand tightened on her wheel. And then a noise. Low, steady, mechanical. A drone camera sweeping the ridge behind her. She cursed silently. They weren't careless. They knew ghosts walk back to battlefields eventually. She rolled backwards without turning, slow, smooth, not retreating, repositioning. Shadows swallowed her again. This wasn't an assault. Not yet. It was reconnaissance of a memory she never asked to relive. Hours passed in quiet oscillations of surveillance and thought. The stars turned, patient witnesses to human violence brewing below. The cold deepened, settling bones, testing resolve. She didn't move much. Stillness is a tactic. Stillness is dominance. Most people mistake movement for life. She knew better. Movement exposes you. Stillness teaches you. Her breath sank to her heart, slow, controlled, disciplined into obedience. Then a crackle in her calm, coded tone, secure channel only used by one person in her past life. Report. It wasn't Slate. It wasn't command. It was him. The lost one. Calling her. Knowing she was here. Her stomach didn't drop, it braced. Some voices are not haunted. They are haunting. She whispered back. You lived. A pause. Then his reply, a sound like gravel and regret. You didn't come back. 4 words. A decade of pain packed tight. They ordered extraction, she answered calmly. They ordered you, he shot back, not us. She closed her eyes. The mountain stayed silent, listening to a war older than both of them. Duty has casualties. Guilt has prisons. You joined him, she murmured. You left me with him, he whispered. Not accusation. Truth. Pain does not always scream. Sometimes it confesses. She inhaled the cold. It steadied her. Cold always does. What do you believe now? She asked. He didn't answer at first. And when he did, the ice in his tone wasn't anger, it was acceptance. The world didn't come for us, he did. And suddenly the mission sharpened. This wasn't vengeance. This wasn't betrayal. This was belonging. Her lost teammate didn't turn traitor. He found a home after the world stole his. Loyalty does not vanish. It relocates. And love for a brother in arms isn't erased by war. It breaks and finds somewhere else to live. She opened her eyes. The compound lights glowed faint against falling snow. Fate breathed a cold whisper across metal and bone. We aren't enemies, she said. He exhaled, tired, old, hurt. We're not brothers anymore either. A pause. You walk away, he warned, and we don't cross rifles. You come in and we finish what fate never did. She didn't flinch. Didn't tremble. Then we are already crossing. Silence. Not anger. Not shock. Respect. Pain. Inevitable collision. He whispered back almost gently. Goodbye, Wraith. She lowered her weapon slowly. No, she breathed, not yet. He didn't respond. The channel died. Her chest felt too small for her lungs. Not because of fear. Because of grief too heavy for air. War does not just take limbs. It takes futures. A rustle of snow. A shadow shifting behind her. Not enemy. Operator Slate. He crouched beside her, voice low, steady. You spoke to him. She didn't nod, she didn't have to. How bad? He asked. She looked toward the compound, breath a thin plume in moonlight. He isn't lost, she murmured. He's anchored, just not to us. Slate didn't answer. Soldiers don't comfort soldiers. They stand beside them. You going in? He asked. Yes. You know what that means. Yes. You ready to kill him. A long silence. She didn't blink. I'm ready to save him if he'll let me. And stop him if he won't. Slate nodded once, respect not approval. You go alone, he warned, and you go as one person. She turned to him. Eyes calm. Voice steady. I was one person when they tried to leave me behind too. He breathed out slow, resigned, admiring her in the way only warriors admire each other. You're not doing this for revenge. No. You're not doing this for duty. No. He swallowed, the truth settling like winter ash. You're doing it for love. She didn't correct him. Some truths don't need permission. He placed a hand on her shoulder, firm, real, human. Then God help anyone who stands between you and him. Her jaw clenched. Not from fear, from resolve. No, she whispered. God help me if I fail him again. She rolled forward toward the compound, into danger, into memory, into judgment. Not to kill a ghost. To face one. To bring one home if the world still allowed redemption. Or bury him if war had taken his soul the way it tried to take her body. Some missions are not about survival. Some are about not abandoning someone twice. And in the silence of snow and steel, she understood. Saving people is easy. Facing the ones you couldn't save. That is war. She moved into the dark. Unarmed by doubt. Armored by purpose. There are battles you fight with rifles. And battles you fight with history. Tonight she was fighting both. When does a mission stop being a mission and become a memory you're walking back into? Snow whispered beneath her wheels, each turn deliberate, each breath measured. The compound loomed larger now, steel, concrete, shadows cut by faint patrol beams. The world held its breath, as if the mountain itself knew what was coming and refused to interrupt. She wasn't rushing. Rushing is desperation. And desperation kills quietly. Her chair hummed on silent motors, tuned for terrain like this. Purpose carried her. Regret walked beside her. And hope, that most dangerous of allies, trailed at a distance, waiting to see which side would feed it. Ahead, a ridge of rock cut across moonlight. Bad terrain for mobility. Perfect terrain for advantage. She braced her wheels against frozen stone and looked down again. 3 guards, rotational sweeps. 1 dog, trained, lean, quiet. A silent alarm system with teeth. And beyond them, a perimeter sensor grid she could almost feel humming from here, not military standard. Clandestine, surgical, built by someone who had learned to think like her. Of course he did. He learned it beside her. A faint static brushed her comm again, not a signal, not a voice. Like someone listening from the other side of the dark. She ignored it. He already knew she came. Ghosts don't sneak into their own graves. She pulled a slender cylinder from her pouch, not explosive, not smoke. Infrared scrambler, silent, invisible, designed for moments like these, where you move not through fear but through disbelief. She triggered it. The dog pricked its ears, confused, then settled. A small mercy. She never fought what hadn't chosen a side. The guards shifted formation. One scanned the ridge, one scanned the valley. The third traced his flashlight along the path she'd avoid anyway. Every man believes he is looking in the right direction. That's why most die looking. She slid further down, hands precise, wheels quiet on compact snow. She was a silhouette against nothing, a whisper passing through the world, a myth returning to the coordinates of her creation and destruction both. 10 meters from the outer fence, she stopped. A trip line. Hair thin. Tension sensitive. She almost smiled. He remembered her way of moving and planned for it. Not fear. Respect. She disarmed it without touching wire, small directional EMP charge snapping the tension sensor offline. No alert, no spark, no sound, clean as a surgeon's breath. Then a shadow moved behind the inner wall, a silhouette she would recognize anywhere. Broad shoulders, left side stiff, scar tissue pulling muscle. Head turning with a soldier's listening instinct, not looking for threat, listening for truth. Her teammate. Her ghost. Alive. He looked older but not broken. A man who had survived and then chosen a direction, not drifted toward one. Then the second figure. The one who stole him from her. Or saved him when she couldn't. Leader of this place. The one the world whispered about but never named. Eyes cold enough to freeze guilt in place. He stood with the posture of men who believe in themselves more than any nation. Not arrogant. Certain. Conviction does not shout. It stands. She studied him the way predators study open ground. He wore no insignia, but purpose clung to him like frost on glass. Not zealot. Not mercenary. Something else. A man who believed the world had lied too many times to trust it anymore. She exhaled, breath invisible in the wind. Some enemies don't rise from hate, they rise from disappointment. That makes them harder to kill. Harder still to save. Suddenly, crunch of snow behind her. Not Slate. Too light, too hesitant, too human. A younger presence. A cadet. A soldier. No civilian shoes, cheap leather, worn edges. A shaky breath behind her. Fear brushing against her spine like cold fingers. She didn't turn. Turning acknowledges threat. And this wasn't threat, it was mistake. Why you shouldn't be here. Young voice. Male. Foreign accent. Nervous, not hostile. She spoke without looking back. You followed me. Silence. Then a broken whisper. I had to. I didn't believe they were right about you. I needed to see. She knew that tone. Blind loyalty, trying to carve itself into courage. What's your name? Nico. Young. Barely 20. Eyes used to fear more than violence. He stepped forward, boots sliding slightly in frost. I know who he is, he said. The one you came for. They told us stories here, about ghosts, about soldiers governments bury twice, once in body, once in truth. Her jaw tightened. He wasn't talking about the man inside. He was talking about her. Nico swallowed, eyes sharp with desperate curiosity. Why did you really come back? She answered without pause. To see if redemption breathes. Nico blinked, understanding more than he should. And if it does? She looked toward the compound, toward a past that refused to stay buried. Then I give it air. He hesitated, then whispered. Are you here to kill him? She turned slightly, enough for him to see her face in moonlight. I'm here to remember why I didn't. His breath shook, not in fear of her, but awe of what she represented. He wasn't an enemy. He wasn't a scout. He was a believer in someone, or in something he hoped existed. Hope is fragile, and it follows legends into darkness. Go back, she ordered. I can't. You're in danger. A soft laugh, sad, resigned. I've been in danger since the day I chose to try again. Then, click, a rifle bolt behind him. Not pointed at her. Pointed at him. Her teammate's silhouette stepped from shadow, muzzle aimed steady. Move away from her, he ordered quietly. Nico froze. Eyes wide. Betrayal slicing him raw. You told me she was gone, Nico whispered. Her teammate's jaw clenched, voice steady, but pain hiding under the steel. She was. The words felt like bullets in her chest. She didn't look away. This was truth stripped of romance. He mourned her once. Then he buried her to survive. She had returned not as memory, but as threat to the life he built after loss. She lifted her hands from her wheels, slow, controlled. "Nico," she said quietly, "step aside." He shook his head, fear and loyalty tearing him apart. "I won't let them hurt you." The teammate's voice cut through frost like a blade drawn slow. "He's not protecting you." A pause. A breath. A wound opening. "He's protecting himself from the woman he still remembers you were." Silence swallowed the mountain. This wasn't battlefield. It was an altar of broken faith. She spoke first, voice low, raw steel wrapped in breath. "You survived, I gave you that." He answered without hate, that made it worse. "You left, I paid for that." Pain isn't loud. It's quiet enough to drown you from inside. Nico looked between them, betrayed by history he never lived. "Is he your enemy?" he asked her. She looked at her teammate, saw the man who once dragged her through gunfire, heard the voice who once whispered go, saw the cost of choices no one else would ever understand. "No," she whispered. "He's my consequence." Her teammate's eyes softened, grief winning over anger for one fragile second. "In another life," he murmured, "I would walk to you." "In another life," she answered, "I would never have left." Then motion. A shadow on the roof. Laser dots sweeping. Her instinct snapped faster than thought. She grabbed Nico's collar, yanked him down. A suppressed shot cracked the silence. Stone exploded where his head had been. Ambush. Not from the compound. From the ridge. Not his people. Her extraction overwatch. Someone didn't trust her choice to come alone. Slate's voice burst into her ear, tense clipped. "Hostile sniper nest engaging. Move now." But she didn't move. She stared directly into her teammate's eyes across distance, bullets and fate between them. And she whispered the only thing that mattered. "Not him." Her teammate froze, realization dawning too late. This wasn't betrayal. This was misunderstanding turned lethal. Slate again, urgent. "Wraith, confirm target neutralization." She keyed her mic, voice calm as death. "Stand down." "Negative, sniper hostile, priority threat take shot." She spoke one command, quiet, undeniable, the kind forged in blood and loyalty. "Stand down." Silence. Then Slate hissed. "Copy." The mountain exhaled. Her teammate lowered his rifle, not trusting but thinking. Nico trembled beside her, realizing how close he came to dying for someone else's unfinished war. She looked at her lost comrade and spoke a truth heavy as snowfall. "I didn't come to kill you." He answered like a man who walked across years of silence to reach one sentence. "I didn't ask you to save me." The air between them wasn't cold anymore. It burned. Choice stood here. Fate watched. A life built on old loyalty. A life rebuilt on new loyalty. And she had to choose which life she would honor. Her voice barely rose above wind. "Let me in. Not as enemy. Not as savior. As what they once were. And might never be again." His answer came slow, like a judgment being passed. "You cross this line, and nothing between us will survive unchanged." Her grip tightened on her wheel handrests. A warrior doesn't fear bullets. She fears truth. She rolled forward anyway. If redemption breathes, it breathes through ruin, not mercy. And she was ready to walk or roll through both. What breaks first, the past you cling to or the future you fear? She rolled forward, slow but certain, wheels whispering over snow-packed earth. Each inch felt like crossing a memory. each breath a battlefield inside her chest. The compound gates loomed ahead, and her teammate, the man she once trusted with her life, stood still, rifle lowered but grip tense. Not welcoming, not threatening, just watching. Something in his eyes flickered, not anger, not relief, recognition, the kind that hurts more than any bullet. She stopped just short of him, close enough to feel the warmth of human breath in winter air. He spoke first. Soft, controlled. "You shouldn't have come. And yet I am here." "Why?" "Because leaving once was enough." Silence clung between them, the cruel kind that carries every unspoken war, every night spent replaying endings that never felt right. Behind him, Nico stood small, uncertain, the wind cutting him sharper than any enemy could. His voice trembled with truth he didn't understand. "She came for you." Her teammate didn't blink, didn't speak. He simply inhaled, slow, steady, like a soldier preparing to pick a side inside his own heart. Then heavy footsteps approached, deliberate, steady, controlled. The leader stepped into view, the man the world feared and whispered about, the man rumored to break nations without firing a shot. "Marl." He looked at her the way generals look at history, and see where it lied. "You really came," he said, voice calm as an execution order. "I did. To kill me." "No. To save him." She glanced at her old teammate, his jaw tight, eyes unreadable. "To face what I left behind." A faint smile ghosted across Marl's lips, not cruel but knowing. The smile of someone who has seen people pretend they came for duty when they came for love, guilt, unfinished pain. "You're late," he murmured. Her pulse didn't change. "I rarely rush toward mistakes." He chuckled, soft, almost respectful. "There is a place inside for old loyalties," he said, "and older wounds. I didn't come to join you. I never asked you to." A beat. "I only ask you to understand why he did." She didn't flinch. She didn't argue. There are truths so sharp they don't need to be defended. You bleed simply by acknowledging them. Her lost teammate finally spoke again. "You came to take me back. If you want to come." "And if I do?" Her answer was breath, not voice. "Then I learn how to leave you properly." His eyes softened, raw grief flickering through hardened discipline. "You left me to die. You ordered me to. And you obeyed." Her jaw clenched, a tremor so small only winter wind noticed. "I obeyed because I believed you trusted me to." Pain flashed across his face, the kind you bury because facing it means admitting you still care. Marl watched them with quiet interest, hands clasped behind his back like a judge overseeing a trial without gavel or mercy. "You are both right," he said calmly. "And both wrong. That is war." She turned toward Marl, cold steel, wrapped in calm breath. "You took him in. I found a man the world threw away. You used him. I gave him purpose when purpose abandoned him." She didn't argue, she understood too well. Broken soldiers don't need saviors. They need somewhere their scars aren't shame. She looked back to her teammate. "Did they save you?" No hesitation. "Yes." "Or did they give you permission to never forgive me?" His eyes glinted. "Not accusation. Recognition." "You still think you chose the only way," he murmured. "I think I chose the only way that lets someone live." A pause, cold, stretching between them, like wire ready to snap. "And did you?" he asked. She swallowed hard. "No." For the first time since she arrived, his breath hitched, a crack in armor forged from betrayal and survival. Then motion, quiet but violent. Alarms flashed through the compound. Sensors triggered. Not by her. By the Overwatch team that defied her command. Slate's voice snapped in her ear. Unidentified heat signatures moving toward your position, not ours. Take cover. She didn't move. Marl turned his head slightly, scanning horizon with predator ease. You didn't come alone. She spoke through clenched teeth. I told them to stand down. And like all good soldiers, Marl murmured, they obeyed everything except the order they feared most. Her teammate raised his rifle, eyes narrowing toward distant tree line. They're coming in thinking they're saving you. And walking into a kill box they don't understand, she finished. Snow shifted. Dark figures emerged among trees, shadows with rifles, thinking they were ghosts when they were only men. Slate. And two others. Coming fast. She rolled toward them, not back, forward, raising one palm in warning. Stop. Slate froze mid-stride, enough to survive one more second. Marl raised his hand. His men materialized along the perimeter, scopes glinting, safeties already off. Her teammate stepped between her and the compound, rifle ready. Not protecting her. Protecting the fragile balance between three worlds that had collided here. Slate's voice cut sharp. Wraith extraction compromised. We pull you out now. No. You're outgunned. So are you. We have Overwatch assets. They have trained ghosts. We have mission authority. I have history. Slate's breath shook, not fear, frustration. You're not thinking clear. I am thinking with regret, she hissed, and that makes me dangerous in ways you are not prepared to handle. Marl folded his arms, studying this tension like it was a masterpiece crafted from loyalty, betrayal, and stubborn love. You came for him, he said, but you brought soldiers trained to treat you as an objective, not a choice. I didn't bring them. A pause. They followed. Loyalty, Marl nodded. Beautiful, terrifying. Her teammate whispered, voice low. Tell them to leave. She met Slate's gaze through snow and chaos. Fall back. Slate shook his head. We don't abandon you. Her voice sharpened, quiet steel. Then you will kill me. Slate froze. What? She spoke slowly, each word cut from truth. If you force my hand. If you make me choose between past I owe and duty you claim. Someone will die. The mountain held its breath again. Then her teammate lowered his weapon, slow, deliberate. You came to choose, he whispered, so choose. Slate whispered in her ear, voice cracking under weight. Wraith, come home. She turned her wheels slightly, not toward either side. Toward truth. I am home, she said quietly. Where the unfinished things live. Nico stepped beside her, small, scared, resolute. You can't save both, he whispered. She looked at him, soft, gentle, tragically aware. I don't save soldiers, she said. I remind them they were never lost. Marl's eyes narrowed, like someone seeing an unexpected move on a battlefield. He thought he understood. Her teammate's breath broke, the sound of a heart realizing it wasn't abandoned, just wounded. Slate stepped forward, risking everything for someone who taught him what courage meant. Time held. 3 sides. 3 loyalties. No clean lines. No clean victory. She whispered to all of them and none. We decide how history remembers us. By who we save. Not who we shoot. Marl tilted his head, intrigued. Her teammate exhaled, trembling, truth cracking armor. Slate's rifle lowered, faith fighting protocol and winning. Then, a single distant shot. Not from either side. A third unknown sniper. Enemy neither side accounted for. The bullet struck ground inches from Nico's heel. Nico gasped. Everyone pivoted. Rifles swung. The sky held still, waiting to see who fired first. She whispered into the sudden chaos. New player. Slate cursed. Marl smirked faintly. Her teammate stepped forward, instinct rising older than betrayal. We fight together. She nodded once. No past, no oath, no nation. Just survival, he finished. Just truth. Rifles raised. Wheels braced. Breath held. And in the cold dark of a forgotten mountain, ghosts and soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder again, not as allies, not as enemies, but as people who chose not to break twice. Some wars aren't fought for countries. Some wars are fought to be able to live with yourself when silence returns. And after years apart, misunderstanding and grief choking both sides, the first real sentence passed between them again was simple, raw, and sacred. Together, even if tomorrow meant parting again. Even if one might die for the other. Even if love and loyalty and guilt and duty were indistinguishable here. Tonight there was no betrayal. Just unfinished souls realizing they were not done yet. Who fires first, the enemy you know, or the doubt inside your own chest? The second sniper shot didn't come right away. That was the worst part, the waiting. Silence stretched across the mountain like a razor-wire truth. Someone else had been watching this standoff. Someone patient, dispassionate. Someone who didn't care about loyalty or regret or what unfinished hearts still fought to repair. A predator who only saw targets. Her teammate adjusted his stance, barrel pointing toward the ridgeline, shoulders tightening in a way she knew too well. He wasn't drawing breath to shoot. He was drawing breath to lead. Instinct, old and unbroken, resurfaced in him like a memory made of steel. Marl didn't bark orders. He didn't flinch. He simply stepped slightly back, positioning himself between his people and the unknown threat. A commander who had walked through too much fire to fear new flame. Slate rotated, scanning angles with a practiced sweep. 3 worlds, 1 breath, 1 question. Who wants this mountain to bleed? Nico's voice cracked first, soft, human, terrified. Are they here for you? He looked at her. He meant her. The legend, the ghost, the one whose return stirred forces bigger than any uniform or memory. She didn't answer him. She didn't know. Sometimes the shadows aren't following you. Sometimes they follow the wounds you left behind. Her teammate's voice cut through frost and dread. Movement, 400 meters, tree line shift left. Slate saw it too. 2 shapes, no 3. Silhouettes moving low, coordinated. 2 professional for random hunters. 2 silent for amateurs. Contractors, Slate muttered. No insignia, Marl replied, tone like ice. Not mine. Rogue unit, her teammate added. Maybe. Maybe not. Truth is rarely that neat. Another shape flickered behind a boulder, disciplined, controlled. A sniper angle. She tracked it in silence. This wasn't coincidence. Coincidence doesn't bring trained shooters to forgotten mountains. She felt it in her bones, the way soldiers feel storms before clouds form. Someone wanted this meeting to end before it began. A voice crackled faint through her calm, scrambled, distorted, but familiar enough to twist her gut. Wraith extract now. They're coming for him, for all of you. Not Slate. Someone above Slate. Someone who didn't trust peace to breathe, even for one fragile moment. She inhaled slowly. Shadow command, she whispered. Slate stiffened, the shock subtle but sharp. He wasn't briefed. He wasn't meant to hear that call sign. Shadow command didn't exist, officially. Unofficially, they moved pieces long before governments admitted there was a board. Her teammate heard it too. Recognition carved itself into his expression, followed by something else. Resignation. They don't want me alive, he murmured. Dead men don't reopen questions. And you're a question they buried badly, she answered. His eyes met hers, raw, fragile, fierce all at once. "So are you," a crack echoed. This one aimed true. Not warning. Kill shot. She shoved her wheel rims hard, dropping low, yanking Nico by his collar. A bullet stitched through where his chest had been. Slate fired back 2 shots fast, clean. Marl's men ghosted into defensive lines, silent, practiced, coordinated without command. Her teammate dropped beside her, hand gripping her chair frame, pulling her behind rock cover. And just like that, the past and present fought shoulder to shoulder again. War doesn't care who you were angry at 5 minutes ago. War only asks who stands with you when the fire begins. Snow exploded around them, suppressed shots chewing earth, dirt, bark. Precise, no panic. A killed team sent to erase loose ends. Slate spoke in clipped breath. 3 shooters confirmed, possibly 5. Marl replied coldly. 6, and they're pushing flank right. How do you know? Slate snapped. Marl didn't even look offended. Because that's where I'd push. Fair. True. Horrifying in the calm delivery. Another shot rang, ricochet sparking off her wheel bracket. Nico flinched hard. She pressed his head down gently. Breathe. I can't. You can, she whispered. And you will. Fear means you are alive. Use it. She didn't raise her voice. Fear doesn't need volume. It needs direction. He nodded, shaking. Her teammate fired once, no wasted rounds, covering fire without shouting his intentions. He didn't shout orders, didn't call moves. They just moved like they once had. 2 minds remembering the same battlefield language. Slate locked eyes with her. Call your command, get us support. No. They'll overrun us. If I call them, she said softly, more guns come, more death follows. So we die here for moral philosophy, Slate hissed. No, she answered quietly. We live here because we choose cleaner blood. Her teammate almost smiled, pained but real. You always talked like war was a church. You always believed it was. A bullet snapped air between them. Conversations in combat aren't indulgence, they're clarity. War doesn't isolate truth. It forces it to surface. Marl crouched beside them, eyes studying her like she was an equation finally solving itself. They fear him, she said. They fear us, he corrected. And me. Especially you. She didn't argue. When systems can't own someone, they erase them. Her teammate reloaded, motion smooth. We push East Ridge, take high ground. There's a second overwatch vector, she murmured. Higher peak southwest. How do you know? He asked it like someone genuinely curious, not doubting. Because that's where I'd kill us from. Slate glanced between them, realizing something frightening. Their minds weren't aligned with him. They were aligned with each other. Old familiarity. Old instincts. Old ghosts breathing again. Nico whispered. Why don't they call for help? Her teammate answered without hesitation. Because help means witnesses. And witnesses mean truth, she finished. Gunfire intensified, closer now. Shadows moved like wolves through snow. She inhaled. 3 minutes before they breach. Slate swore, we fight or we run. Marl stood calm amidst chaos. We do neither. He walked out into open snow. Exposed. Defiant. Her breath caught. He was inviting fire. Their enemy hesitated, too confused to react instantly. Leadership sometimes looks like suicide. Or revelation. Marl lifted his hands, not surrender. Challenge. If you came to erase lies, he called out, voice steady as stone, you chose the wrong ghosts. Silence answered first, the deadly kind. Then her teammate stepped out beside him. Then she rolled forward. Slate cursed under his breath but followed. 4 silhouettes against white snow. Nico followed last, terrified, but refusing to be left behind by courage he believed in. The mountain wind held its breath. Then, a sniper cracked again. But this time, the shot hit a different target. One of the hidden attackers fell from the ridge, clean drop, neck blood misting snow. A kill. Not theirs. A new voice hissed in her calm, female, cold, familiar enough to freeze her heart. You weren't supposed to meet him again. So now we end this properly. Her blood chilled. She knew that voice. A ghost from a different chapter. A betrayal that never fully scarred over. Not an enemy she forgot. One she never forgave. She whispered her name aloud, a razor on her tongue. Solace. Her teammate's breath stopped. Slate looked at her, realizing there were layers he didn't have clearance to imagine. Marl only raised one brow, intrigued. Nico whispered, "Who is that?" "A woman who once stood with me," she answered, eyes narrowing, pulse steadying like a blade being unsheathed. "And now stands against everything I refuse to become." A faint laugh on the comm, cruel, intimate, familiar. Solace again. Your weakness was leaving him alive. Meaning her teammate. Meaning regret just became target priority. He whispered, voice breaking open. You brought her here. No, she breathed. She followed my shadow. Solace's voice sharpened like ice-breaking bone. You chose conscience instead of obedience. So now I choose completion. Her teammate looked at her, raw fear buried under years of discipline. She came to finish me. She met his eyes. No, she came to finish us. He swallowed hard. And what do we do? Her wheels rolled a half-inch forward. We remind her unfinished things don't die easy. Marl lifted his chin, amused, impressed, dangerous. Slate chambered around, this time without orders. Nico trembled, then steadied. And Wraith, broken, rebuilt, haunted, unbowed, lifted her rifle. Solace, she whispered, breathing memory and fire. You should have killed me when I still believed in mercy. The mountain answered with gunfire. And the past finally stepped into the present with blood in its teeth. What do you do when the person who once knew how you fought knows exactly how to kill you? Shots cracked across the mountain, not chaotic, calculated. Solace didn't waste bullets. She never had. Every round had purpose, history, intention behind it. Wraith took cover behind a fractured boulder, snow biting her skin like old ghosts. Slate crouched near her, jaw tight. Who the hell is she? Wraith didn't look at him, eyes scanning the ridges, breathing slow. Once she was what I could have become. Her teammate, that man who once trusted her with his last heartbeat, was already tracking angles. Body low, sight sharp, he whispered. She knows our tells. Yes, and she knows we hesitate where she doesn't. Marl remained standing, calm amid the fallout, hands clasped behind him. Not arrogance, command. Watching patterns in chaos. Hunting strategy inside emotion. She is good, he murmured, but anger always bleeds through a trigger finger. Wraith lifted her rifle, scanning left ridge. She's not angry, she said softly. She's convinced. Those are the most dangerous enemies, not the ones who hate you. The ones who believe they must erase you for the world to remain righteous. A faint glide of snow. A muzzle flash high above. Wraith fired one round, wind adjusted. Echo swallowed ridge. A grunt. A body slid. Not Solace, one of her shadows. Slate blinked. You weren't aiming at her. No, I was reminding her I don't miss. Quiet fell again, not peace. Calculation. 2 hunters on opposite ends of destiny, circling memory. Solace's voice finally came again, unshaken, cold, surgical. Still protecting him, Wraith, even now. Wraith held breath steady. I protect what I failed properly. A bitter laugh cut across Winter. Call it what it is, unfinished guilt. Wraith's throat tightened. Solace's truths always hurt because they were sharp, not twisted. Her teammate stood near, breathing hard, fury simmering under discipline. Why is she after me? He hissed. Wraith didn't soften her voice. You're not loose ends. You're proof she wasn't the only one left behind. Pain tightened his jaw. There are wounds even survival can't stitch clean. A crack of ice behind Marl, not gunfire. Pressure plate activating under snow. Marl didn't flinch. Even traps learned to fear stillness. He looked at Wraith, voice quiet. Your enemy is not here for me. No. She wants to erase your regret. Regret is not weakness. It is humanity, Marl said, and many would kill to never face theirs. He stepped forward, deliberately triggering the pressure plate fully. A small explosive spit snow upward harmlessly. A warning device, not a kill charge. Solace was playing head games, not detonating truth. Slate exhaled shaken. We move or we die. Wraith shook her head. No, we choose or we die. The team froze, instinct caught in the gravity of her tone. Solace's voice slid through static like a blade dipped in memory. I'll give you one chance, Wraith. Leave him and walk away. Her teammates stiffened not from fear, from recognition. Solace wasn't talking about him. She was talking about choice. Leave the past. Walk into the future clean. A soldier's cruelest mercy, erasing what hurts most. Wraith breath slow. I don't abandon my dead. Funny, Solace replied, voice sharp as ice. You already did. The words hit like a round through bone. Slate whispered to her, quiet, shaken. She's better at breaking you than bullets. She's not breaking me, Wraith whispered back. She's numbing what I never buried. Her teammate looked at her, eyes raw, vulnerable. You carry me like I'm a wound. You carry me like a grave, she said. There it was. Their truth. Ugly, beautiful, unavoidable. War doesn't only kill bodies. It kills futures. A shot snapped overhead, deliberately wide. Solace correcting their angle, controlling their movement like chess pieces. She wanted them closer. Wanted finality face to face. Wraith rolled forward. Don't, Slate hissed. If I stay, she murmured, she chooses the ground. And if you go, I choose who I walk toward. Marl spoke softly, like offering a measured truth instead of a warning. Peace is not won by stubbornness. It is won by knowing when to stop fighting ghosts. Then let this ghost speak, Wraith said. She rolled out slowly, directly into open snow. Her teammate stepped beside her, not to shield but to stand. Slate cursed and moved too, loyalty overriding fear. Even Nico followed, trembling but determined. Marl. He didn't move. Leadership is knowing when presence matters more than bullets. Snow crunched above. Solace stepped into sight, black gear mask, rifle drawn in poise of execution. She was poetry sharpened into a blade. Wraith stared at her, breath slow. Take off the mask. Solace hesitated just a fraction, then slid it off. Face pale, eyes blazing. Not hatred. Abandonment turned holy. You left him to die, Solace whispered. I left both of us to live, Wraith answered. You chose protocol over loyalty. I chose a path where someone survived. Solace's jaw trembled, fury cracking into grief. He begged for you. Wraith flinched, wound opening. Her teammate's breath caught. I never heard him, Wraith whispered. You didn't have to hear. Solace's voice broke. You had to stay. The mountains swallowed their silence whole. Wind cut, snow whispered. Their ghosts leaned in to listen. Wraith spoke first, voice steady, not defensive. I failed him, but I did not abandon him. And I did not stop saving him, even when saving him meant losing him. Solace's eyes glistened one heartbeat before they hardened again. He doesn't need you. Wraith nodded. I know he chose his path. Solace looked at him, hurt warring with triumph. You're free from her. He shook his head, voice hushed, cracked, honest. No, I'm free because of her. That broke something. Not in Wraith. In Solace. And wounded love turns lethal fastest. Solace snapped rifle up. Her teammate moved instantly, stepping in front of Wraith. Slate moved too. Nico gasped. Marl finally stepped forward, a general choosing a moment time itself would bow to. But Wraith lifted her palm. No. She rolled forward, directly into Solace's rifle barrel. Blood warmth and snow chill kissed her skin. Death breathed across her face like a memory. She whispered, I'm not asking forgiveness. I'm giving truth. Solace's finger trembled on trigger. You ruined him. No, war ruined him. I refuse to let it finish. And you think words erase death? No. Wraith's voice turned to iron. Living does. Solace's breath hitched shiver of a soldier holding two realities and breaking under both. Wraith leaned in steady, unstoppable. If you kill him, she whispered, you kill the proof you can walk away too. Solace froze. A soldier at war with the last piece of herself she hadn't buried. A long, fragile moment passed. Snowflakes drifted. Fear steadied. Pain exhaled. Solace lowered the rifle. Not surrender. Not forgiveness. Recognition. Wraith whispered. You don't have to become the thing that tried to kill us. Solace's eyes filled, quiet, devastating defeat. You don't get to save me. No, Wraith said softly. I simply refuse to lose you too. Solace stepped back once, breath shaking, then vanished into snow like a prayer unfinished. No shot fired. No final blow. No clean ending. Just survival and all the questions it keeps alive. Silence returned like snowfall. Her teammate turned, voice breaking open like relit fire. You didn't come to save me. No, she whispered. I came to stop dying in the place I left you. He exhaled, heavy, grateful, tragic. You going back? Yes. You staying? No. Why? Wraith breathed in the cold mountain air and found it finally didn't hurt. Because we don't belong to who we were. We protect each other by walking separate paths, not repeating the same one. He nodded once, grief obedient, love silent, respect absolute. Slate touched her shoulder lightly. We going home? She stared at the horizon. No, she whispered, we're going forward. Marl watched her, a monarch recognizing another sovereign of ruins. Dignity rarely shouts, he said. No, she replied, it walks away quietly. He bowed his head, not defeat, respect. They parted like ancient comrades, not allies, not enemies. Equal weight. Equal scars. Wraith rolled from the mountain, snow crunching beneath her wheels like applause too quiet for pride. Nico hurried beside her. What now? He asked softly. Wraith looked ahead, face calm, breath steady, world wide open. Now, she almost smiled. We learn how to live without war deciding who we are. He swallowed, hopeful and terrified. And Solace. She will choose her own ending. We only gave her the chance. Slate walked silently behind, carrying loyalty like a quiet weapon. Her teammates stood watching her leave, not broken by her absence this time. Whole because she returned once. Whole because she left again differently. She whispered as wind carried her voice down the mountain. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak. A pause. It simply lives. Then she disappeared into dawn. No triumph. No defeat. Just peace carved from pain, honest, imperfect, earned. And in the snow behind her, footprints and wheel tracks formed a single truth. Strength isn't who returns to the battlefield. Strength is who leaves it still human.